A deadline for the Greek government to present its reform measures is looming. Athens is preparing to present a series of proposals to its international creditors before midnight today, in a bid to convince them of a vital extension for its bailout agreement. It's been reported that the measures are likely to include overhauling the country's minimum wage and combating tax evasion. The European Central Bank, International Monetary Fund and EU Commission will decide if plans are sufficient enough to release a €7.2 billion fund, and they are due to discuss them in a teleconference tomorrow. Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis said failure to approve the list of reforms means the whole agreement would be dead and buried. Now, joining us via Skype to discuss this further is economic expert Keith Pilbeam. Now, what will this list of free reforms be likely to look like?
It's probably a pre-arranged list anyway. So there's no way they got to the agreement on Friday without, discussing the main things that they need to do. I think the biggest thing and the biggest step down is that the Troika, renamed the three institutions, will still be approving the Greek package, which, as you've mentioned, will include tax reform, particularly tax avoidance, pensions, and state employees, the quantity of state employees, and also what we call the primary surplus that they want Greece to head for. That means after you take away the interest, they're supposed to be running a primary surplus, so their government expenditure roughly equals their tax, if you exclude the interest, which we know they've got to pay.
So we know that there are plans to tackle tax evasion, as you've mentioned, and to streamline the civil service. Now, how will this affect the large majority of Greeks?
Well, they've already faced a lot of cutbacks. So, to be honest, we're near the end of this process, in the sense that the Syriza party came in promising a lot, but it's basically had to stick to the pre-arranged package. So it's a huge climb down in a way, but I don't think they had any realistic alternative. After all, they'd committed themselves to staying in the euro and not risking that. So really, at the end of the day, they made a lot of noise, but they really haven't gained much in the way of concessions.
So, I mean, you're saying that they've committed themselves to stay in the euro. Do you think this is working against them or not?
Well, ultimately, Greece is probably better off staying in the euro and undertaking some of these reforms, because they can at least blame it on the Troika. And this is sometimes a cover for governments to undertake things that they need to do anyway. Greece was badly managed for so many years, and that built up the problem in the first place. So to some extent, Greece will ultimately benefit from these reforms. It'll be a more competitive economy. It'll be closer to managing its public finances in a way that we all understand public finances should be run. So it's, in a sense, it's in the long-term interests of Greece, although, of course, politically it doesn't look good.
You're saying that Greece will benefit from these reforms, but how will they ease the effects of depression and reduce unemployment, which is currently at 25%?
Yeah, I mean, if there's any good news, it's that Greece is probably already at the bottom. Things can't get much worse. And so some sort of recovery is going to take place anyway. You can't have 25% unemployment, 50% youth unemployment for a sustained period of time. No economy can cope with that. So Greece will find a way, I believe now, to get back onto a better path. Now, in return, it needs to get some rewards, which is more sustainable measure of payments that are related somehow to economic growth as well, like the Greek finance minister has actually been advocating. So there is some sense that there's a bit of leeway for negotiation over the next 4 months. But it's absolutely vital now that Greece, gets this package through.
Now, we know that the German Finance Ministry have said that they need a list that is plausible and coherent. But what is the danger of these reforms not being accepted?
Well, at this stage, I wouldn't worry too much. You can still write a lot on paper. Then, down the road, you can negotiate over the details a little bit more. So I really don't think there should be any problems meeting the deadline. Obviously, down the road, we've got 4 months of negotiations that will go on and try to get much more detail. But I really don't see any problems getting this approved.
Economic expert Keith Pilbeam, thank you very much for joining us today.